And I read that optic white at the company sold more than any other color. So much need for whitewashing, a world awash in white and hate, and underneath the subway grating. Bi-coastal bird, fully lost in the middle, she must roost in the field, the garage, the sandy-colored van, she'll not be. Beneath a livid sky, waiting for a bus to the city pool, a friendly man whose hands slide inside her tank top makes her fidgety sick. Arbe had an exhibit at the Kirkwood Art Gallery, and I went to look at his paintings, and I had seen a few of them before, but it was really wonderful to see a whole collection all at the same time. And I wrote him, I think I sent an email and just said, wow, I really, really love your work. And then I got an email back saying, I think maybe we should consider collaborating, doing something together. And essentially that was the genesis.
Well, yes, and during the Renaissance, there was always the great debate, which was greater, art or visual art or literature. It's interesting that music was never part of that discussion at that time, but that was part of my interest. And it's not so much which is greater. I mean, it should not be a contest, but how they might complement each other.
Maggie's Golden Bowl, after Henry James. In the end, my golden bowl isn't happiness without a hole, but more the alchemist's quest, knowing what is true. And even the sky isn't really blue. Money bought me pretty things. And your painting was wonderful, and I wanted to, I had to think about the characters that were in the story, because the story is all about, things happen, but it's really about character development. And these remarkably rich characters that James created in his novel, and their motivations. And of course, Maggie is the most interesting character, and so that was why when I started the poem, it was Maggie's golden bowl. It was her bowl, and I wanted to think about what happens in the story from her point of view. I wanted some of the other characters' lines to be in there too, but I wanted to use her point of view, and so I used some of her words, her actual words, as well as a few of the other characters' words, and that really helped me kind of shape what I was going to do and how I could respond to what was, in its essence, a fairly straightforward painting. And then working the drapery of the drape, was just, I thought it suited the poem, and it was such an important part in the painting too.
The Golden Bowl is so much about artful deception and not necessarily negative deception. I'm trying to think of a word that means deception but doesn't have a negative connotation. And, that's certainly something that's used in painting that is of a believable nature. I don't like the word realistic. I never use the word realistic in describing painting, because it's really about deception. But like I say, without a negative connotation, and certainly in the Golden Bowl, it's about deception used to protect people.
I think a conversation in two art forms is really a good way to think about the collaboration. For me, what's fun about having a piece of art to work from is that it provides a kind of structure. And then I can bounce off that structure, and I can see how I want to respond to it. But it gives me something to respond to. It's not just as open and freewheeling as it sometimes feels when I sit down to write. And so whatever structure the painting provides is actually really useful in the art of creation for me, the writer.
Well, and also problem solving. I mean, I am sure there have been times that you've looked at my paintings, you think, what am I going to do with this? And there have been times when I've looked at your poems and think, how can I, what is there that I can do? And I think this is a good thing for students to think about in creating visual work and literary work, is working through those problems and being willing to make changes. And I think both of us have done that successfully together. And I think in general, that's something that we do individually in our work. Everything is a work in progress rather than this is finished or this idea is finished.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, revision is so much a part of the artistic process, and I tell my students, and as writers, revising is actually, it's the fun part. The hard part is getting anything down there on paper. That's giving birth. That's the struggle. That's painful. But once you have something down, then it's play. It's creative. It's in its own sense, but it's a different kind of creativity. And that adaptability, definitely plays into it.
I think a healthy self-esteem with doing work is important. I think an unhealthy ego is detrimental to being a good colleague and working in collaboration.
Yeah, and respect. I think that's what comes across really effectively. I mean, I have a great deal of respect for Arbe as an artist and as someone who has, who has a vision and has this incredible talent. And I want to do what I can to honor that. And so whatever I create, I hope is going to bring that forward, and that respect will show in what I'm doing and what we're putting together.